Phil Franz-Workington. The ICE Futures canola market is narrowly mixed Friday morning, seeing some consolidation after hitting 3-month highs yesterday. Chart-based positioning ahead of the weekend contributed to the softer tone, with losses in Chicago soy oil also weighing on prices. Weekly Canadian canola exports of about 170,000 tons were down 7% on the week, according to the Canadian Grain Commission, but year-to-date exports at about 5.9 million tons remain well ahead of the 3.2 million tons exported by the same time last year. Uncertainty over tariff threats from the U.S. Does remain a bearish influence overhanging the market. Meanwhile, supportive chart signals and the need to ration demand kept values well supported. In the U.S., soybean and corn futures are lower, while wheat is narrowly mixed. Soybeans pressured by improving weather in South America and lingering uncertainty over a trade dispute with China. The March bean contract down 5 cents at $10.40 per bushel. Weekly U.S. soybean export sales did come in at just under 500,000 tons. That was at the higher end of trade expectations. Corn, meanwhile, did hit its highest levels in 18 months overnight, but ran into resistance and is now edging lower. Forecasts calling for welcome rains in dry areas of Argentina contributed to the eventual downturn, with solid U.S. prices adding to expectations for a large increase in U.S. corn seedings this spring. The March corn contract down 4 cents at $4.94 per bushel. Wheat is narrowly mixed, underpinned by speculative short covering and solid export demand. Traders are still trying to get a handle on the extent of the damage to winter wheat crops in the U.S. plains and Russia after recent cold snaps. Minneapolis spring wheat down a penny in the March contract at $6.32 per bushel, while Kansas City hard red winter wheat up 3 cents in March at $6.10 per bushel. Chicago soft wheat 2 cents higher in the March contract at $5.87 per bushel. Weekly U.S. wheat export sales included 500,000 tons of old crop business and an additional 100,000 tons of new crop sales. That's a look at the ICE futures and U.S. markets for Friday, February 21st. In Winnipeg, for MarketsFarm.com, I'm Phil Franz-Workington.
For over 35 years, they've been your go-to for quality farm and snow removal equipment, and they should also be your go-to for parts. At Butler Farm Equipment, they have a fully stocked parts department with a wide selection of batteries, oil, pins, bushings, antifreeze, bearings, belts, pulleys, sprockets, and more. Plus specific OEM parts from New Holland, Schulte, Toro, and Gravely. Butler Farm Equipment. Over 35 years of great service in the Peace region. Visit butlerfarmequipment.ca.
The opinions expressed on this show do not represent those of the station. If you've missed any of the shows, you can follow the podcast at Energeticcity.ca. Welcome to This Week in the Peace, a show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Here's your hosts, Dub Craig and Steve Berard.
Welcome to the show. A little later on, I'm going to be sitting down with Emry Mika from Stage North Theatre Society. She is one of the stars of the company's production of Mamma Mia, which opens tonight at the North Peace Cultural Centre.
But first, after a busy week that saw a local building defaced with hate speech, the BC Throne speech, and info about homelessness and housing insecurity in our community and what council can do to try and alleviate it, we've brought in Councillor Trevor Bolin to discuss it all. Trevor, how are you doing today? It's been a lot, yeah.
I'm good though. It's been a big
week.
week. Yeah, for sure.
I want to start, if you're okay with it, with the Treaty 8 building being defaced. Tell me a bit about what the city's reaction to that was like the day that info came out.
You know, honestly, I think it was in line with everyone's reaction. There was anger towards something like that happening. There was sadness, the fact that that's still happening, and that we haven't advanced beyond not only the vandalism but what was also on the building. When a lot of times we don't always know what happens when it happens, right? I mean council only meets twice a month for our regular meeting. So, we don't have this daily update kind of here's what's happening in the city. We rely on a lot of social media pages. We of course rely on Energetic City and Moose FM and Moose Media. And from there we can kind of figure out what's going on. So, I mean, literally as soon as council found out about it, council came together. We with staff drafted a response to the community, an overall letter to the community. And honestly, it's more in hopes that the message resonates with people, that there's no space for hate in Fort St. John. There's no space for racism in Fort St. John, and that we are better than that. And regardless of it, if it was kids playing around or if it was somebody who was viciously trying to make a statement, none of that is okay. Mm-hmm. So, I think it's an awareness now and an ability for all of us to come together. And if you see something like that happening, phone the RCMP. I heard there was people driving by and also yelling profanities while folks were spending their time to clean it and paint over it. Get their license plate, get the information. We need to take a stand. We need to take a united stand, and we need to stamp out racism and hate in our community and in our hearts.
100%, absolutely. The RCMP said that it was being investigated as a hate crime. Marlene Roy, the executive director, was asking if anyone in the area had security camera footage. Have you guys heard any updates on the situation? Anything like that?
We have not. I know in seeing some of the comments that were made, they believe that there was cameras in the vicinity. I sure hope there was. Mm-hmm. There's buildings that have parking lots to the south, and then of course to the east. So, I mean, honestly, nothing would make me happier than them being caught, who did it, and there being consequences for it. Other than the fact that I think the awareness around this and let's come together. I think that's the biggest moment that we can relish in right now, is the fact that this has brought the community together to say no more.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Let's pivot for a second to this housing committee presentation. You put this out on Facebook last night. Yeah. Walk me through some of the findings in the sort of the latest update report, because it's been a while since we spoke about this.
It has, yeah, absolutely it has. I mean, number one, I'm so proud of what the committee's accomplished. What our staff have helped us so much. People in the communities, organizations, everybody who's kind of come together to help us on this. It was really a defining moment. Back in August or September, I had made a motion and asked council to consider letting us form this committee with Councillor Clausen and Councillor McDougall. Council was obliged and allowed us to do that. And from there, it was getting as much information as we can, looking at communities where it worked, where it didn't, what went wrong, what would change it. I mean, there's communities as close to us as Prince George and Grand Prairie. This is not a Fort St. John issue. This is a municipal issue across Canada. So, we focused on some of the work that St. John's has done. There's been some great work done in Nova Scotia. Medicine Hat had a fantastic program. While it was operating, it was operating extremely well. They had slowed the program down a bit. They've seen the recourses of that. They started back up again. So honestly, it was nice. I believe we are the first municipality in BC that has formed a committee to go and look at how to deal with the issues that are pressing. Because at the end of the day, people that aren't unhoused feel just as much care for their community as those that are unhoused. Yeah. And we're all in a community together, right? This isn't your Fort St. John. This isn't my Fort St. John. This is our Fort St. John. So how can we make our Fort St. John the best Fort St. John there is? And that is ensuring that those that are possible to slip through the cracks are most vulnerable. So the committee, the team did amazing work. I was so thrilled that we were able to come out with a report. From there, we did business walks. We met with community members. We met with stakeholders. We gathered data and facts so that we could share, because a lot of this too is knowledge. It's understanding that, I think the average person on Facebook would or does tend to post, it's drug related, it's this, it's not, right? And from the numbers that we've been able to gain or provide is it's mental health. It is loss of job. It is personal reasons such as families breaking up, right? Those are as large, if not larger, than what addictions would play in this scenario. Right. So from here, we're going to recommend to the council to follow our recommendations on the last page that was in that report, and allow us to speak to the ministers, allow us to look for capital funding from BC Housing. BC Housing is over $4 billion a year. They don't spend it in Fort St. John. So it's not, even if it was a couple $1 million, that is not a large segment of their $4.6 billion budget.
Yeah.
And for us, that $2 million would be the equivalent of $4 billion everywhere else in the province, right? That is such a large amount of money. And then from there, the concern of the committee was, how do we deal with operations? We've heard from the community that this isn't something that they should pay more taxes for, because they already pay taxes for it, right? Their taxes are already going provincially to BC Housing, so that money is their taxes reinvested in our community.
Right.
From the operations side is we need to look at funding, because whatever model we're going to roll out with, which there was recommendations in there needs to be somebody to operate it. There needs to be support services with it, right? It is not here, get in this house or this whatever it is, right? Here's your home, here's your bedroom, and then get better.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's not going to work. We're still gonna have the same problem. So what the committee has done is we're going to actually reach out to the provincial government and the ministries through council if they approve it, and we want operational funding from tax revenue on cannabis. We want funding from tax revenue on alcohol sales.
Right.
We want funding from tax sales on casino revenues. There is so much revenue that should be going back to the communities. It's mind blowing that it doesn't. So,
yeah.
When we look at that and we look at those revenues, that we know, cannabis, for an example, is a new revenue from 4 years ago. That should be revenues. The tax of those should be revenues that are going back into municipalities to deal with housing issues, mental health issues, issues that we seem to let through the cracks, but we can stop it. And I think that this is the way we're going to do it.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit, we've talked a lot about sort of what was in the report. What's the timeline for this? You guys are presenting this to council next week, and then if it's approved, where do you guys go from there?
So, the great thing about the committee and council's support of the committee is that there was no moss growing on our feet. From the day we started this, it was the ground running. It was an action committee. It was not sit around and talk about it. I think the only time we actually sat around and talked about it is when we met with stakeholders, when we met with service providers. Other than that, we were on the streets, and on social media and on your guys' show, trying to get awareness of this, which is huge. So Monday we'll present it. If council adopts it, we will then actually start drafting the resolutions that'll go to NCLGA and UBCM, because we want to make this provincial. This isn't a here's a letter, look what we did. This is a in your face. This needs to change. We need help. The community needs help. You better help us. So through UBCM and NCLGA, which are both, of course, provincial regulations, one is the north, one is the entire province, we're hoping that the recommendation will then carry on to the UBCM to be put in front of the province. In the meantime, we've requested that council allow us to meet with the ministers, Minister of Safety, Housing, communities. There's 3 or 4 ministers that we have in there that I think that if we were given the ability to sit down with them, however that looks, right? If it's Zoom, I don't even care. As long as we have the ability to sit down with them and explain to them how this could benefit Fort St. John from our Fort St. John approach, which is how we always do things. Other communities can then look at how that's going to work in theirs. So this could be a massive win provincially, potentially westerly, as far as even into Alberta and Saskatchewan. When we find something that works, we're gonna have to fine tune it. This isn't going to be,
of course.
Tuesday comes along and it's like we fixed the world's issues. But these baby steps are going to get us where we need to be, and I think we're going to see that transition happen fairly fast.
100%, absolutely. One of the things you mentioned, obviously, economic factors like people losing a job are going to be a huge cause for homelessness. Talking a bit about the economy, I want to talk a bit about the throne speech, because that was a big topic in the throne speech, was the economy in the wake of tariffs and things like that. What was your take on the throne speech, not only as a municipal councillor here, but as a former MLA yourself?
As the former leader of the party, so I'm gonna be honest. When I first seen it and they called it "Made in BC" throne speech, my slogan during the 2020 election was "Made in BC."
Oh yeah.
So you know what I think imitation's kind of a form of flattery, right? And because it makes sense, because we need to get back to "Made in BC," and the 5 key election promises that we had in that 2020 election when I was the leader of the Conservative Party was getting rid of the red tape on natural gas, getting rid of the red tape on forestry. It was tourism credits, so that if you were not going to the United States or wherever, and you were spending your holiday in Canada, you would write that holiday off. Entice people to go, right? And to me, that is building BC bigger. Another one that we had at that point was manufacturing, right? We need to get back to manufacturing. If this little tariff tiff or tariff war or whatever it may end up being, if this is our wake-up call, we need to wake up. We don't manufacture enough of our own goods. We don't, even in Canada, we don't manufacture what we need. So I mean, in credit to Premier Eby, there was certainly, I mean, his best point was probably copying me, but there was certainly some good points, right? Expediting some of the projects, these different things, the realization this needs to happen. But let's get tourism going in BC again. If we're in a true tiff with America and we're at home saying we're no longer going to travel in the United States, they're going to be doing the same thing. Yeah. So, with 420,000 tourists that are on the Alaska Highway every year, that's something we need to be considerate of in our own communities. So let's get that back. Let's get people in BC exploring BC. Give them a reason to take a trip. Let them have a tax credit for the cost that it takes to explore our own province and the beauty that we have. And then focus on getting those projects done. It's one thing for him in a throne speech, to talk about how these projects need to happen. And in all fairness, we've also seen him start to sort of champion the industry a little bit in some of his comments, some of Minister Dix's comments. Northern Gateway. Sit down and get Northern Gateway done. There is such a disarray between our provinces right now that we are an easy target for a tariff war. You can't even transition between BC and Alberta, right? Without it almost being like another country. What's good for Alberta is good for BC. What's good for BC is good for Alberta. What's good for the two of us is good for Canada. Right. So, if that's kind of figuring out the best possible way to help Alberta get their product to the coast, ensuring our product continues to get to the coast, ensuring that drilling starts happening now. We have the largest Canadian LNG plants opening in 2 months, and we have 21 rigs drilling. Right, we need to be the sole supplier, or if not the majority supplier, of natural gas. We do it better than anybody in the world. We should be 60% in that pipe. Alberta should be 40% in that pipe. Right now, with the drilling that's happening, that is not the way it's looking to be. We're talking 2 billion CFU of natural gas every single day going through that pipe. This is a game changer for BC. It's a game changer for Fort St. John, and I appreciate it making the throne speech because it hasn't been for a long time. But let's get boots on the ground and let's get this going right now.
For sure, absolutely. We're coming up on time here. One last thing I wanted to ask you about. You guys, the city of Fort St. John, has a health and safety conference coming up in a few weeks. The registration deadline is about 5 weeks away, I think.
It is.
Tell me a bit about the event for people who haven't heard of it.
This is a big one, and I gotta give huge kudos to staff on this, because you often see these in larger cities, larger centers. These starting to roll out. I mean, first off, it wouldn't be able to be done without the staff of Fort St. John. I think Palmer Lodging is another one. Northern Legendary Construction and Solaris, I think, are the sponsors, the keynote sponsors, and the partners. So without them, it wouldn't have happened. So massive thanks to them. Registration deadline is March 29th, I believe. The event is April 9th. There is some fantastic speakers at this event. So I think there's 4 or 5. There's 2 keynotes. It is based on your mental health. It is based on how to overcome maybe current issues that you're dealing with. It is tried, tested, and true testimonials, if you will, from some phenomenal Canadian speakers, and even one that's right here in Fort St. John. I think Jasta Dixon, is one of the speakers on that. So you know what? Take the time, take the day, and go, because if you even take away one little thing that you're either able to implement into your own life or implement into your children's life, as they're going to be us. Mental health is a big one, and you know what? When we see what we've seen in the last couple of years with rising prices and people literally having to pick, do I pay utilities or do I buy groceries? There is a lot of strain that people have gone through in the last few years that it hasn't broke them, but I mean, there's probably a lot of people that feel they're pretty close to that breaking point. So, for this event to come to Fort St. John and have those great sponsors and those amazing speakers, honestly, take the day, and attend the event. Register now, though. They did add more seats to the event. I don't suspect it will probably be available for much longer. So you can go on the city page and register. Even just Google it, Health and Safety Event Fort St. John, and there's a registration there. And take advantage of this because, the more people engage in this sort of thing, the better and stronger they are. But the more of these events we get in the city of Fort St. John, and we deserve the best.
For sure. Absolutely. I think that's everything. Is there anything else you wanted to add really quickly while you're still here?
I don't know, man. I feel like I did a lot of the talking.
I think you've covered everything. Thank you so much for your time, Bolin. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, have a great day.
Of course, absolutely. That was Trevor Bolin. We'll be right back with Dub's conversation with Emry Mika on This Week in the Piece.
Hope you're having a great Friday. My name is Berard, hanging out at the Crystal Club in Charlie Lake as they are preparing for this yearly tradition here in our community. It's gonna be a beautiful day today, tomorrow, and Sunday. First round of games that kicks off tonight at 6, and there are gonna be beer gardens. Yes, it makes everything better. Fun for the kids so you can burn off their energy for the weekend. And non-stop pond hockey challenge. It's gonna be a lot of fun for the whole family, and that's the Crystal Cup happening today, tomorrow, and Sunday, and the first game kicks off at 6 tonight, so you better not miss it at all.
Northern Lights Inn. Extend your stay, not your budget. Ideal for company crews, workers, or those relocating to Fort St. John. The Northern Lights Inn features unbeatable weekly and monthly rates in rooms that all include a full-size refrigerator, kitchen counter, and microwave. Plus, get free high-speed Wi-Fi and complimentary coffee 24/7. Looking for the best long-term accommodation here in Fort St. John? Choose Northern Lights Inn. For more information and to book your stay, visit northernlightsin.ca.
Join Rhythm Auction's timed online auction February 18th to the 22nd in Charlie Lake at mile 54 behind the Chevron gas station. It's an unreserved sale and the highest bidder gets the item. Register today at Rhythm Auctions February 18th to 22nd in Charlie Lake at mile 54. Check it out at rhythmauctions.com.
What is energy? Sure, we can talk about kilowatts and efficiency, but what is it really for us as people?
It's warming up the house when it's chilly.
It's powering and sterilizing medical tools for our doctors and nurses.
It's firing up a barbecue to enjoy some delicious salmon.
At Enbridge, we know that energy is more than just technical jargon. It's about creating experiences and building our economy. And for nearly 70 years, we've helped fuel what matters most to BC.
Enbridge. Tomorrow is on.
After a long shift in this weather, I'm running on empty.
You know what hits the spot after working in the cold? Humpty's Big Plate Diner. Their new winter homestyle plates are real stick-to-your-rib stuff.
Yeah? Like what?
We're talking braised pot roast egg bennies, plus burgers and specials that'll make you forget your freezing job.
Now you're talking my language. After busting it all day, a Humpty's Big Plate sounds like just what I need.
Humpty's Big Plate Diner. Come on in and fuel up right.
Moose Country weather.
Today we're going to see a mix of sun and cloud turning cloudy near noon with a 30% chance of showers late this afternoon. We'll see a high of 6. Should be fairly windy through the morning. Cloudy tonight with a 60% chance of rain. Risk of freezing rain. We dip to a low of 0. Tomorrow, a bit of wind under a mix of sun and cloud, high of 9. And clear sky on Sunday. It'll be windy, a high of 8.
You can watch this show live on Facebook. Catch the replays at Energeticcity.ca or be part of the show by texting your thoughts to the Fort City Chrysler line at 250-787-2222.
Yeah, you hear the ABBA in the background. I'm here now to talk to Emry Mika of Stage North's production of Mamma Mia, opening tonight at the Cultural Center. How's it going today, Emry?
Really good, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you very much. And thank you very much for being here to talk to me about this wonderful show. If people don't know what this show is all about, they don't know ABBA.
Oh, boy.
Can you try to tell me kind of what's going on in this?
It is the night before Sophie's wedding, or the day before Sophie's wedding,
Yeah.
and her mom is trying to get the island all ready, and 3 men from her past show up, and all are potentially Sophie's fathers, and chaos ensues as that problem is attempted to be solved throughout the course of a 2-act show.
It's quite the show. You're playing Sophie's mom, Donna.
I do play Donna, yes.
Yeah. So, and it's just all the music of ABBA. That's kind
Everything's ABBA.
Yeah,
it's great.
So if you love ABBA, or if you've ever turned on a radio in your life, you will recognize the music from this show. You guys have been rehearsing this forever, it seems like. This started way back in September, right?
Yes, we were cast in at the end of August, and our first rehearsal was the very first Monday of October, and we've been going since then. We did a span of vocals, a span of choreography, and then I've been working with the director since January, and it's been an excellent journey.
I think Ted Sloan said something on Facebook the other night about this, and I think it was him. But anyway, it's sort of like being directed by 3 different people, because a musical has these extra elements that a regular play doesn't have, right?
Absolutely.
Because Ted's in charge of like, okay, here's where you're going to move on stage, but then you're the choreographer of the show, so it's where you're moving during the dances. And then Rihanna Morris, Rickard, is the musical director of the show. Here's how you sing the songs correctly.
Yes, and then we have to put all 3 together.
It's quite the feat. And by the way, I have seen the set. This could be one of the best looking sets we've seen.
It's beautiful.
It's amazing work. Now, in addition to this just wonderful run of this musical, that again starts tonight and will go until and include next weekend as well, you've added 2 kind of specialty performances that I don't think we've, again, done before at Stage North. Tell me first about the sensory-friendly performance that's happening tomorrow afternoon.
So our matinee tomorrow at 2:00 is Stage North's first sensory-friendly performance. This is a type of performance that's becoming more and more popular in theaters around the world. And it's just a less intense version of the show. So the sound is not quite as loud. The lights are not quite as bright. The energy that the actors are giving on stage is at 100% as it always has been, but there's going to be a chat before the show explaining that things like you might see these 2 have a big fight on stage. They're not actually fighting. They're good friends, and it's okay. And they're safe.
So it's a chat for the audience, sort of preparing them.
Preparing them for what they're going to see throughout the course of the show. It's meant for neurodiverse folks who are maybe intimidated by coming to the theater or overwhelmed. Great for small children, that type of thing. So we're really excited to put this forward as a first-time production.
Yeah. What kind of... As you said, it's becoming just more and more popular in the theater. I apologize. I don't remember if you're on the board, but certainly you're very involved in Stage North. Can you tell me a bit about this discussion that came up? Like, this is something we should do and we should offer, especially in sort of a big production like a musical like Mamma Mia.
Yes, I will say that this is very directed by Ted, and it's something that's very important to a lot of us. And so when he brought it to us and said, I think it's important that we do this, we all were on board with it. It's not been without its bumps as we figure out how to do this for the first time, but I think the intention is there to just make as safe a place as possible for people to come experience theater. And those who might not have been able to see the show, hopefully they can come to this show and experience the joy that we've all been creating.
Wonderful. Speaking of the joy, tomorrow night's performance is a sing-along version.
It is a sing-along version.
Tell us about that and what that means.
Also a first for us.
Yeah.
So we're figuring it out. There's going to be printouts of some of the words for some of the songs, and the audience is going to be welcome to sing along in most of the songs. And we're just hoping to create a large space of a lot of energy and just have a great time. We've been rehearsing these songs, but everybody knows them. And so if we can get our audience involved, that sounds like a lot of fun too. So.
Amazing. Is it going to be like actors on stage now interacting with the audience? You know, like say, hey, join us, or like you can join, have as much fun as you want, as opposed to kind of when you normally kind of sit quietly and enjoy the show. You know what I mean?
I don't think the actors will be directly interacting with the audience. There's very much like a fourth wall in this in this show that's not an interactable space, but the energy feed will definitely go both ways as you have that kind of energy from singing and dancing that you get.
Man, that'll be fun to debrief after that to find out how that went.
I can't wait to see how it goes.
All right. Well, as I said, it opens tonight. You've got the 2 specialty shows tomorrow, then next week, Thursday, Friday. Saturday night. I mean, tickets are going because this is one of the biggest musicals in the world still. I mean, the fact that we were able to bring it here is pretty awesome. We want to make sure that people can shout "Gimme, gimme, gimme" at the box office and get their tickets. Tell us about getting your tickets. How can you do so?
So you can do so online at Energeticcity.ca, as well as at the box office up to an hour before the show, or between, I believe, 10 to 5 most days.
Excellent. And then one last thing, flowers available to buy before the show. So you want to make sure you bring your money.
Oh, very nice.
To buy. Tell us a bit about this, because this is also, I think, a new thing that
we did it for Footloose, and this is one of our first big fundraisers of the season, but we do something we call cast and crew grams. So you can buy a flower in the lobby, write a little note to somebody that you know in the cast or crew, and it'll be taken backstage during the intermission and dispersed amongst everybody. And it's just really fun as the cast and crew to receive them, as well as the audience can send their love back if they've liked what we've done. It's a really nice interaction, and it's a great fundraiser for us, and we're really appreciative of those that have donated for it.
Amazing. So that'll be in the lobby also kind of before the show, about an hour. Okay. All right. And that'll be just tonight or before every show?
Before every show.
Amazing.
Yes.
All right. Before I let you go, Emry, is there anything else you'd like to say for people who are maybe on the fence? I don't know. I don't love musicals or theater. Why should they come see this show? Take a chance. There it is.
Oh, excellent. Very nice.
I was going to get there.
For me, it's always about the beauty of community theater. There's 42 people that have come together, 42 cast, more crew on top of that, more people on top of that have come together, and we have people who are stepping on stage for the first time, and we have up to people with theater degrees or an actor full time. So we span the gamut, and we go out and we create magic and joy and sing and dance every night all together on the stage. And I would love for people to come just be a part of that and witness what that feels like, because it's kind of a spark that's you can't find anywhere else.
Right. And these are your neighbors, your friends, your coworkers. They're volunteering their time. I can attest as a husband to one of the performers how much time she has put into this. And it's a lot, and it's quite the sacrifice they're all making to entertain you and have a great time doing it. So go see Mamma Mia at the North Peace Cultural Center again tonight, tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night, next Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Get your tickets now. Emry, thank you so much for coming to see us today and break a leg tonight.
Oh, thank you.
You're very welcome. That's Emry Mika with Stage North joining us to talk about Mamma Mia. Thanks again to Trevor Bolin for joining us on this week in the piece, and thank you for tuning in.
You can listen to the show again by checking out the podcast at Energeticcity.ca/podcasts. We'll store this and future episodes of the show there as we make them. Also, check out our other locally produced podcasts, Before the Peace and Secrets of the North as well. That's our show. I'm Stephen J. Berard, apparently.
And I'm Dubbus J. Craig. Be well.
Join us again next Friday morning at 10 for another edition of This Week in the Peace, your weekly talk show dedicated to the people, events, and news of BC's Peace region. Or you can listen to this podcast again at Energeticcity.ca.
Hope you're having a great